Are you gonna, discuss the floor amendment, or do you wanna do the?
We are live? All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Health and Government Operations Committee. We're voting on a couple of concurrences, and we're also voting on an amendment to a Senate bill. I wanted to deal with it in committee rather than going to conference, okay? Because we don't have a lot of time left, and I don't want to leave it to chance. So we're going to get started. I want to start by saying thank you for being so flexible. Everyone did beautifully on the floor. You were killing it. You're doing great. Thanks, everyone. And I want to thank staff so much for your hard work and the LAs and our state trooper who's been with us all session. So Lisa, why don't you get started? Oh, Delegate Collison, would you like to tell us what the bill is and what the amendment is and why we would like to adopt it?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. We passed House Bill 614, which is the Alzheimer and dementia care navigation bill. And in our bill, we did not include chronic diseases as part of the referral and guidance program. However, it has been amended over in the Senate to include that, to put that language in. I spoke with the Chair of Finance yesterday. She explained to me her rationale for that, for the inclusion of chronic diseases, which is primarily that the agencies that deal with aging populations are going to be seeing people with COPD and diabetes and kidney function issues, and that it seemed like it made sense to allow them to make referrals and provide information to regarding those, as well as Alzheimer and dementia care. So I would like to move that, and we took it out of the Senate bill before they amended the House bill. So I would like to move an amendment to Senate Bill 228 that reinstates the inclusion of chronic disease.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? This is the time now where you let me know, Delegate Kaiser, what your concerns are or questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, this sounds like a great idea, but I assume that the original thought of not including it was the cost. What is the cost for this, the re-inclusion of this?
It doesn't add to the cost of the program, because what they're doing is, they're providing guidance and navigation to resources, basically. And so then it's just another
a few more
category.
Resources,
right?
So that they have to be knowledgeable about.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question.
Yeah.
Any other questions or concerns? So the amendment has been moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition to the amendment, to the language? Seeing none, we will actually put it on the bill. And we will accept it because it's on third reader this afternoon as a friendly amendment from the committee. So when you see the bill being called and we say friendly amendment, that is what we're referring to, okay? So that you know what you're voting on. And thank you, Delegate Collison, for your leadership and for speaking with the Chair of Finance. Lisa.
So we also have a concurrence to Delegate Collison's House Bill 614. So this does the exact same thing as the amendment that Delegate Collison just explained.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none, we will accept, we will concur.
And I have one more, which is a concurrence on House Bill 374, which was the health insurance pharmacy benefit manager audits of pharmacies and pharmacists. And the Senate amendments limit the application of the requirements and limitations on audits to PBMs that provide pharmacy benefit management services on behalf of a carrier. So in other words, the requirements and limitations are not going to apply to PBMs providing services on behalf of plans subject to ERISA.
Okay. All right. Oh, no, it's okay.
It's PBM bills.
I'm sorry, it's just that,
So for years, we would have bills, these pharmacy benefit manager bills, and we were told that we could not apply the requirements to ERISA plans, so that it was preempted by federal law. There was a Supreme Court case a couple of years ago that said that's not completely accurate. We're still kind of trying to figure out exactly what the balance is there. So originally, our audit bill would have applied to ERISA plans, and the Senate took out that provision.
and Nick, Delegate Kipke, I think Delegate Collison spoke to Delegate Kipke, who you know is an expert on these bills and cares very much about these bills like we do, and he's okay with that. And the issue is that we have not been able to get anything through, right? In the last, in many years that I can remember. And this is a way to get us closer to having some relief. And he's okay with the amendments. I saw Delegate Chisholm first, and then I saw Hill, and then I saw Morgan.
One example of a ERISA plan would be our own plan, correct? For the state? And is that just because it's too complex for them to look at,
Go ahead, Delegate Collison.
because it's privately funded?
Delegate Collison will address it.
The ERISA plans, which are self-funded or privately funded, but primarily by employers, large employers, fall under federal law, not state law. And under the federal law, they have certain requirements that do not meet they're not in general, they're not regulated by our insurance administration.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome, Delegate Hill.
So I thought that part of what Delegate Kipke was trying to do and what we were voting for is take advantage of that Supreme Court ruling and say that we could finally make them do what they kept refusing to do. So here's the question. E&T rejects, does not, they don't give in to what the Senate says, and they go to conference, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But going to conference doesn't mean that we end up with no bill. It means there's a further discussion, and we had our pharmacy pricing bill, and that went to the court, and they decided it wasn't. Why would we make the decision that it's not constitutional when we've worked so hard to try and follow up what the Supreme Court said? Why don't we let them decide? Why don't we push back like E&T does, go to conference, and then concede if that's the only thing we can do to get the bill through? But if we can convince them about the Supreme Court, we don't know what their discussion was over there, and then try and convince them to let the bill go through and let the courts decide, so we can establish once and for all what they have to do. Why are we giving up on the fight?
Thank you for your passion, Delegate. I appreciate it. And thank you, Madam Chair.
And Delegate Collison will address us, and she's, the one that has led us where we are right now. So let her take the heat.
Right. I think what we have to keep in mind is the bigger context. And this bill, particularly, is really designed around audit processes. And with it, we thought that there was a doorway through which we could slip into the ERISA market, because we weren't talking about, insurance plans. It was strictly PBMs, which is what the Supreme Court decision has done. But as you all have heard over the last number of years, the complication around that, what defines ERISA, who regulates what parts of those plans and programs, the role that PBMs play is a very complicated issue. And we have a new committee chair who's not familiar with all the ins and outs. And you've heard the debate. Those of you who've been here for the last 6 years, you've heard that debate around ERISA. They haven't had those discussions in the Senate Finance Committee. So I think what I'm advocating for is if we can at least take a step forward so that in the portion of the market regulated by the Insurance Administration, our pharmacists, our independent pharmacists will be be less susceptible or less vulnerable to abuse through the audit process. And next year, I have on good authority that the Finance Committee Chair is willing to study what the impact could potentially be and work with us next year on this.
Absolutely. This is a safe space, I think, to speak up.
All right, so here's the thing. I appreciate that the Senate committee has a chair who wants to wade in a little bit. And that there may be some promises made back and forth to move some things along, in which case, if that's the case, I can respect that. But again, I guess because the conference committee with 3 members from this committee and 3 minutes from the Senate committee to discuss that and have that conversation about why we think it's okay to do it. First of all, we have the chance of convincing them, because I suspect the chair won't be on the conference committee, that we know what we're talking about because we've been doing it for 8 to 10 years.
Can I stop you for a second? Who else feels that way? All right, let's go to conference.
Thank you.
Can we replace the motion, please? Not to concur, right? Actually, if you do not, the motion was, the initial motion was to concur, right? You don't want that. Those of you that are in favor are in favor to concur of the original motion, raise your hand. It fails, motion fails. Now there's a new motion, Delegate Hill. Delegate Kaiser. Okay. So now we're in the motion not to concur. Delegate Kaiser, go ahead.
I was just trying to look it up and wasn't sure if I could see a reprint because the amendments are very confusing with just all the letters coming out and all of that. But, and this is an audit bill by nature, but is there also a reporting mechanism and that says this is how hard or difficult it was to do? I mean, are we demonstrating that it's not a big deal to do? Is that an important question to ask? I don't know. I'm just talking out of my, but I'm just wondering, do we need some evidence to suggest that it wasn't cumbersome or anything else, or no? Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, because
Just
we already
curious.
do it,
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, great question. Delegate Johnson and then Delegate Bagnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I truly think that we need to go to conference, because even if we don't come out of conference successful, we can always add the PBMs next year, because the PBMs on these audits, they are the ones inflicting the most damage.
Well, great. Delegate Bagnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just while we're on the public record, can you remind the body how long this committee has been working on this issue and the sort of the level of expertise within this committee on this issue, if we're going to go to conference?
We have been working on these issues. I've been here 16 years, at least 16 years. And I think that, look, we have agreed and concur on almost everything. And I follow my committee chair's leadership, right? Because you guys are really doing the work out there. And I have to respect the committee, how you feel. So we're going to go to conference. We're going to take a vote. And the members that will be assigned to the conference committee, you speak up. You have the experience. And I think that as we do this work, it's about trust, knowing that we have the knowledge, right? We've been doing it a little longer, and that sometimes we have to, trust that expertise and our LAs and the people that are experienced on it. And while we have been very respectful of the other chamber, very much so, respect them very much, we have conceded on almost 99.9% of everything. So this is a really important issue. We hear these issues every session, and the time has come to really do something about it. So let's take the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion not to concur. Yes.
Lower chamber.
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
No, no. Right? We've been conceding, we are not a lower chamber, and they need to know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Delegate Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Terry's point, and I agree with everything we said, I think if we did concur, it would make it harder to revisit this subject matter next year, if it doesn't get worked out. But to Terry's point, the Senate is a different body, and there's less people on the committee, and they handle a broader array of subjects. And I just feel like the stuff that comes out of our committee, you mentioned about doing how many times we've looked at this process. I mean, we sat here for literally hours talking about the problems in the PBM. I do think that the subject matter, the legislation that comes out of this committee is more well thought out than the stuff that comes out of the Senate. And on some subjects, especially this one, they do really need to defer to the House, and in particularly this committee.
Yeah. Well, I thank you all for your input. I respect it. And as the chair, I'm going to do the will of the body here because you spend a lot of time, and I respect that. I am very respectful of the other chamber as well, but I'm praying that, when we do go to a conference, that they can give us a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Consideration, given that we have been doing this for a little longer. So I'm going to try the honey because the honey is really good. And I think, that I have something here. Let me see, where do I have it? I know I have a little something here somewhere, which is a little thin, oh, where is it? Ah, it's a little honey. Okay, so I have a little honey bear in my purse to remind me to always try the honey. Okay, so I want to give it to you to take to conference committee, okay? We'll do that. We'll try it. Honestly, whoever's the chair, please take this from me. The bills? Aaron. Aaron has one. Thank you so much,
Madam
everyone.
Chair, on that bill,
Yeah.
one possibility is if you want to expedite the conversation, the conferees can meet before the conference is officially, you can have some discussions
I think that would be great.
before the conference, at your discretion,
Yeah.
before the conference is officially appointed.
Yeah, so we could do that. And that is also being very kind and considerate. And because I know the chair is very kind in the other chamber and considerate, and I know that she will be open to doing that. So let's move on to Erin.
I have a concurrence message on House Bill 214, which is the Commission on Public Health. And that is the Senate amendments don't alter the duties of the commission. However, they do alter the structure that now has 3 co-chairs. It changes the staffing from the academic institutions that are represented by the co-chairs to staffing by DLS and the Department of Health. And it also adds legislative members to the commission.
We are not going to concur. So is there a motion not to concur? Not to concur. Okay. Any discussion? We're not going to concur because there's 3 chairs. It has DLS staffing it. Usually DLS does not staff those commissions as well. So we need to go and we need to talk about it. Okay? As well. All right. It's a very important bill as well. So any other discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion not to concur passes. Anything else, Aaron?
That's it for me.
Anyone? I just want to thank you all for just being so open. We did this yesterday. So I just want, thank you for checking though. I just want to take a second just to say thank you. As tired as you are, right? And we are adjourning on Monday. You're so engaged and you're giving this more than 100%. And I want people at home to know that you work really hard and that yes, Morgan, we are really thoughtful when we work on things here, and everyone, all 23 members, and the lawyers. So I just want to thank you, and we'll see you on the floor, okay? Thank you so much. Bring us down, please. 1 second, bring us down. Okay. All right. Oh, hold on a minute, we'll be out 1 second. Tell me when we're done.
Who do you want to be the conference?
Tell me when it's done. For the, so I should put, when would that be? When would that be?
You have to.
I was actually going to say, I'm reading a book right now called Walkable City.
Collison? Yes. Hold on a minute, don't leave, because I want to.